Paranormal Road has been brought to you by EVP Mediums. Visit us at evpmediums.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Exploring unknown regions of our reality.
And she looks out and sees these lights in the sky and these different patterns drifting like they were going to land.
Examining the depths of human perception.
I remember when I was awake and I realized I was awake, I started to sort of scan the room and I realized that something was wrong.
Pursuing the elusive and unseen.
Electronics started acting up, ceased to work, overheated.
You have just entered a road of wondrous mystery.
And so when we get around this bend in the road and this group of trees, we look up in the sky and there's this craft. And it is huge.
A place where sometimes our darkest terrors dwell.
I've never seen anything like this. And instantly, I could feel the fear.
You've just turned on to the Paranormal Road.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome to the Paranormal Road. I'm Dave Hensley, your host.
And I'm Randy Kessler, your co-host.
Randy, tonight we have one hell of a jam-packed show.
We sure do, Dave. And let's get right into it with the Haddox report.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Professional UFO investigator and special assignment reporter for Paranormal Road. It's the Haddox Report.
This is William Haddox with the Haddox Report, and I've got a very interesting case I've been working on for the past several weeks. It's out of Louisiana. It's Lake Pontchartrain, which is just outside of the New Orleans area. The witness contacted me on September 28th. It was roughly 11:15 p.m. when the sighting occurred, the initial sighting. The witness was sitting outside of his condo, as he normally does, just playing a game on his phone. That's how he was able to know the timing. Looks up to the west and sees a bright blue object that's definitely nothing normal. Also, farther off to the west, there was an extremely bright light, which was off of a volleyball court from a restaurant there called the Dock. They do volleyball tournaments, I guess, late at night. Very bright blue light. So, in my opinion, that could be what is illuminating whatever the witness saw. But the object is there for about 45 seconds. Extremely fast, making movements, kind of erratic pattern. More in a triangle shape than anything else it could have been compared with, according to the witness. No noise whatsoever, just extremely quiet. But very strange. My initial thought was birds, because I've seen news clips and things that are very similar to seagulls and other things. When light hits them just right, they will tend to appear to glow. So that was my initial thought, and I pretty well thought I had the case wrapped up. Well, on October the 11th, the witness got back with me at 8:15. These are local times, by the way. Got back with me, and the object came back. But this time, there were two of them darting across the sky at extremely high altitudes. They looked relatively small. You could see what appeared to be like a tail on the back of them, like a comet would have. Now that could be from him moving his phone. Either way, though, it's an extremely compelling case. I have contacted the U.S. Navy, which is in the area. They're not too far from there with a training base. They have not got back with me as of yet. I will do a follow-up with them shortly. Now, if you go to my website, which is Central Ohio UFO Reporting Center.us, at the home page, you will see where you can view the latest reports. If you click that, you can read the actual report there. The statements are in my words, not exactly the witness's statement, but I briefly put it there. And also, I have an images tab where you can click on and go see all of the pictures that I'm referencing. And if you click on the photos, they will pop up and be larger so you can view them a lot easier and in more detail. Very compelling. I called the restaurant there, and a new person had recently took it over. He contacted the volleyball people, and they were all gone by that point, but nobody shut the lights out that night, so that's why the bright light appeared to still be there. But no idea. The pictures have been circulated around the area. Nobody else saw anything, or at least they're not admitting to seeing anything. So, very strange case, to say the least. One of the more compelling that I've had in a while. Generally, when cases are submitted that are fairly recent, they're usually not all that difficult. But this one's proven to be a little trickier than most. I've checked with the flight radars. Nothing on radar. There were some planes and things, but not going in the direction or the flight path or anything closely related to this particular case here. So, like I said, everything is on the reporting center. And by the way, this particular witness had heard about me through this particular podcast. So, yes, it's Central Ohio UFO Reporting Center, but as I've stated previously, I'll take cases from anywhere. If you had a sighting, it doesn't matter where you're at in the world, feel free to message me through the website or through the Facebook page, which is the same name, Central Ohio UFO Reporting Center. And I know that's a long title, so if you happen to forget the web address or the name, just contact Paranormal Road through Facebook, and they will get in touch. That's how this one happened. A witness contacted them, and then they got in touch with me. So that's kind of a short Haddox report for the week, but it's definitely an interesting case, to say the least. If anybody has any ideas, even if it's nothing you can confirm, you're just tossing out your own idea, feel free to leave me a comment either through Facebook or the reporting center itself on the homepage. There is a spot where you can contact me directly. Unless it can be 100% confirmed, then in my opinion, nothing is ever solved. I give the best answer I can with the information at hand. Any case can be looked into further if more information becomes available. So if you're from the area or have ever seen anything similar, feel free to chime in and let me know. It will be greatly appreciated. So again, I appreciate all the support, comments, and feedback on the Haddox Report. And as always, keep looking up.
Tonight our guest is Michael W. Cook. He's an author, cryptid researcher. He's active in the field of research for at least 19 years. He's a footprint analyst, collaborative with multiple groups, and he's been on at least 15 major expeditions. For Michael, Bigfoot didn't exist until one day as a teenager, a Bigfoot literally fell out of myth and right into reality.
I imagine he went from either skeptic or, passive to instant knower. I can't wait to hear about this story.
Oh, I know. And the part where it says fell.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Yeah. I guess let's get him on the line and find out. Michael, welcome to the Paranormal Road.
Hey, Michael. How's it going?
Thanks for having me. Oh, great. Thanks for having me.
Good.
Our pleasure. Michael, I know I heard you on Vic Cundiff before, and I really just thought your story was just truly amazing. I mean, had me captivated, that's for sure. And Randy spoke earlier. What did you say, Randy, as far as reality and
a Bigfoot literally falling out of myth? I want to hear about the falling out part of the Bigfoot.
Yeah, what happened?
Well, with the falling out part, I forget who actually wrote that, but I credit that person tremendously, because that's literally what happened. It literally fell out of myth and into reality on me. It was in October of 2000, 19 years ago. This month, I was in high school, and I skipped school one day and went fishing. And I was on the riverbank in Harlan County, Kentucky, and that's far southeastern Kentucky. I've since left there several years ago, but I was fishing on the riverbank, and this riverbank, the river that was there, it runs out of a dam for Martins Fork Lake Dam, and the dam is just, I don't know, a quarter of a mile up the road. So the dam's there, and then the river running out of it. But I was standing there, and I kept on hearing something walk across the ridge over from me. It was early in the morning, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning when it actually happened. So the fog was just rolling up, and the sun was peeking out and everything. So this, what I first perceived as squirrels, maybe a deer, or even an elk, or maybe even a bear, something that I knew existed, was walking around up there. It wasn't. It started sounding more like footsteps, bipedal footsteps. And guys, to this day, I really don't know whether it took a wrong step, slip, trip, done something, but either way, it come rolling off the hill. And this ridge, it was pretty steep. I wouldn't say straight up and down, but it's pretty steep. And as it was rolling, I kept on trying to see where it was coming to, and it was slapping the ground, trying to stop itself, grunting and going on. And then out of nowhere, this thing rolls off the hill and into the river, the edge of the bank, and right into the little eddy in the river. And I saw a big ball of hair, so first thing is, it's a bear. That's, logically speaking, it was a bear in my mind until it stood up. And I think right then and there, I knew that it wasn't a bear, but my mind was still trying to make sense of it, to find some kind of logic in it, because Bigfoot did not exist. That was a story. It was a fairy tale, a grainy video from back in the 60s that was no doubt someone in a suit and everything else that I never would have thought, and I never put any mind to it. I've been in the woods all my life. I've been hunting. I've been hunting and fishing all of my life, camping, hiking, since I was old enough to walk. My dad had me squirrel hunting, and we never saw anything like that, or heard anything like that. So, Bigfoot, that was not, in my mind at that time, that was not a Bigfoot. But it made its way across to the other side of the river, thank God. And it got up, and it started shaking off, like we would. And all this hair was all over it. The hair on its chest was real short, tight to its chest. The hair coming off the arms and the legs was fairly long. It had long hair on top of its head. No visible breasts or anything that would even make me think that it was a female of any sort. The facial features were not compliant with that either. When we locked eyes, it stood there and shook off for a minute, and I'd already dropped my stuff and was trying to make myself run, and I just couldn't. I couldn't get that in my mind to run, because if you've ever been around wild animals, your first instinct is to run, but that's probably not the safest thing to do.
Right.
So I stood there, and it started to turn and walk back up the hill. And when it did, it stopped. And just like in a movie of some sort, it turned and looked at me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we locked eyes. And these big, dark eyes, I couldn't tell you what color the eyes were. I was 50, 60 feet away from it this time. But they were dark, deep set. And it had this look on its face, and it just kind of looked like it was embarrassed.
Mm.
It was like, you're there, I'm here. And it looked down at the ground several times, just kind of like it was scolding itself, what have I done? And it finally, just, I guess it had enough, and it figured that I was probably going to stand there until I died. And it let out it clenched its fist and let out these 3 or 4 deep, hard grunts. And when it did, that's when my mind, flipped a switch and said, okay, it's time to run. And I ran. I took off, and I knew this thing had jumped the river and was right behind me. It was chasing me down. I knew for a fact it was going to grab me and take me, and I was never going to see anybody I love or anybody I don't love ever again.
That had to be absolutely, positively terrifying.
It was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life, and in 19 years I've had more. But but when I got to my car, which was a good 150, 200 feet away, I frantically opened the door and got in and looking around, and it wasn't nowhere to be found. It hadn't jumped the river. It had not chased me down, and it went the other direction. But as I sat there and tried to, calm myself down, I started hyperventilating. I said, okay, I got to get some air. So I rolled down my window, and when I rolled down my window, this thing let off this scream up on this ridge, and I just, it like come through your body kind of scream. And I just rolled my window back up, and I locked my doors again, and I just sat there, and I couldn't move. I couldn't even drive. And I don't know, about 30 or 45 minutes passed. And I finally got up enough nerve to go back out and get my stuff. And I still got the fishing pole and all my gear that I had 19 years ago. I don't get rid of nothing like that. But I went back down and got it and stuff. And I went home with full intentions of telling my dad. I was going home. I was going through my head, what am I going to say? How am I going to say, Dad, I saw something? Not the whole way home, or while I was standing there looking at it, did the term Bigfoot ever come to my mind.
So you didn't, at that point, you didn't equate it at any point to the Patterson-Gimlin film or anything like that? Okay.
No, if I had seen the Patterson-Gimlin film, I don't know if I'd even put any mind into it or anything, any thought.
Yeah.
If I had seen it, it's unbeknownst to me. But I'd seen Harry and the Hendersons, and this wouldn't, this wasn't that long after Harry and the Hendersons was made, but it that never did cross my mind, guys. It never really. I kept on trying to rationalize, and that's a lot. I've seen a lot with talking to eyewitnesses and stuff about it, and that's a common trait is rationalization.
Sure.
You try to rationalize because these things in your mind to that moment they do not exist. So when I got home, I walked in and I sat down on the couch, and Dad said, "Where have you been?" And I said, he knew I had to skip school that day, and it was coming out, and it stopped right at the edge of my mouth, and I couldn't say it. I couldn't say, "Dad, I saw something 8 foot tall, 400 pounds, covered in hair, walking on 2 legs." I couldn't say that.
Yeah.
And because I thought my dad would say, "Well, you're A, lying, B, you're delusional, C, we're going to send you to a therapist, and everybody's going to know you're crazy." That's what I thought. So it went for about a year. And I didn't tell a soul about it. I didn't even tell any of my friends, my brothers, nobody.
It had to be.
But
they had to be incredible. I mean, they had to be like they had to eat you alive for a year.
Oh yeah, and I didn't even go out in the woods. Like it was November's deer season here in Kentucky, and every year I was in the woods every weekend deer hunting in November. I never went deer hunting that year. Didn't go squirrel hunt, turkey hunt, nothing. I never done anything. And mainly because I was having nightmares, and I was seeing this thing jump the river, grab me, and take me off.
Well, let me ask you, did your family ask you about, that? Did your friends say, why are you not hunting? Or did your behavior tip them off on anything that something wasn't right?
My best friend grabbed me one day, and he said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Man," he said, "for about 6 months or so, you've been nervous. You've been, you're not acting right. You got big black circles under your eyes. What's
PTSD.
going on?"
Yeah,
it was a form of PTSD. And I just told him, I said, "Man, I'm not sleeping well," and I left it at that. But about a year passed, and my dad and I, we were watching Unsolved Mysteries. I'll never forget it. Robert Stack, and so happened that episode was about Bigfoot, and they showed the Patterson Gimlin footage, and I was sitting on the couch, and I look up at the same moment that Patty turns and looks at Roger and Bob, and that was the look, the motion, everything about it is what that one done to me that day. And Dad, you asked Dad, he said, all the color left me. And he said, "Okay, that's enough. I've seen something going on here. What is wrong with you?" And I said, "Dad, I don't know how to say it. I don't know even how to begin to tell you this." And he said, "Just tell me. I'm your dad." I said, "Okay. Dad, I saw one of them." And he said, "Okay, where?" And I said, "Up at Martin's Fork last year." And I stopped, and I looked at him. I said, "What do you mean, where?" You didn't say I'm crazy. You didn't say I'm lying or anything like that. You said, "Where?" And he kind of, grimaced a little bit, and he said, "Well, here's what I know. They're out there." And I said, "Have you ever seen one?" He said, "I've never seen one per se. I've seen signs of them. I had something stalk me one time that I thought was a bear, and then years later I realized black bears do not stalk people like that." And I said, "Why didn't you ever tell us?" And he said, "Well, would you have ever went hunting or camping or hiking or anything like that if you knew they were out there?" And I said, "No." He goes, "Okay, your quality of life has been better not knowing." And that's when I realized that something called the burden of knowing.
Because once you know something, you can't unknow it. I mean, the reality is, like you experience that PTSD, the reality is you can't go back in time. It changes everything. Your life from that point has never been the same.
No, it's not. And that's exactly what me and a buddy of mine, Bill Lancaster, that filmed Cultured Bigfoot, Paranormal Bigfoot, and Native Bigfoot coming out pretty soon, we're talking about just the other day. And I said, I think about it all the time. If I wouldn't have skipped school that day, I probably, more than likely, would have never seen one of these creatures. My life would have been substantially different right now. And my closest loved ones around me, their lives would have too. I mean, it affects the whole family relationship thing. It really does. And it's a good life. It's I wouldn't take it back for nothing. It's been an aggravating life. I'm coming up on 20 years doing this. I consider myself pretty seasoned with it. Since that encounter, I've had multiple other encounters, 3 more visual encounters. But you know, the burden of knowing, it's a real deal. And you know, when I talk to people now, eyewitnesses and stuff that want to come out, I can tell if they're shooting me a line or not within the first two or 3 minutes, because it is a terrifying experience.
Right.
It is a mind-breaking experience. It will blow your mind completely out of your head, because they are not supposed to exist.
Right.
And so are a lot of other things out there that's not supposed to exist. They do exist.
And that's that's the frightening reality. The things that we were told don't exist do. I mean, not to jump subject, and I'm only going to do this for a second because I don't want to get into really that tonight, but, you know, for me, a few years ago, I laughed when someone talked about the dog man. Now I'm not so sure. You know, after actually talking to some people, you know, I mean, that's the reality. Frightening reality is, if you go out through history from the dogman to Bigfoot, if you really look at history, it's recorded. You know, Bigfoot, you know, we didn't get that term until the 50s. Before that, you know, if you look at old ancient newspaper articles, it's referred to as the wild man, or a wild man attacked a family on their, you know, horse and buggy. You know, so history does record these events as well as legends, but yet in our minds, it doesn't exist.
Well, you think about like I think about it. I'm a big history buff when it comes to history. It's not just the encrypted history or anything. We've only been exploring the world up until the 1500s. We thought the world was flat. I mean, or no, the 1300s. 1492, Columbus came across and done all that. But, you know, up until the 1400s, we thought the world was flat. Even some idiots out there today think the world is flat. But
that's a whole another show.
Yeah, that's I could go on and on about that. But and as far as exploration goes, in the known species that we recognize today, and I'm talking like the kangaroo and the gorilla, the chimpanzee, those have only been cataloged for right at 150 to 160 years. That's not that long.
Right.
And there's thousands of species discovered each year in the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah, new species every day. And Mike, we're running out of time here. We're going to take a short break, and folks, stay with us, and we're going to return back on the Paranormal Road more in a moment with Michael Cook.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon. When it rains, it pours. find me. Hope you find me. I'll be back home soon. When the sunrise, when the sun.
Hey guys, I'm Jerry.
And I'm Tracy.
We are the host of Hillbilly Horror Stories. What we do every week is we tell you mostly paranormal stories, and then we throw in a couple of unsolved mysteries, maybe a little bit of true crime if it's creepy enough. And the beauty of this is that Tracy doesn't know the show, correct?
This is correct. Never do.
So then what happens when you don't know the show?
I'm just as surprised as anybody else is.
And that's the beauty of what our show is. We basically get the same reactions out of Tracy as what the listener at home is getting, and I think that's been a success to our show so far.
Yeah, I think it works.
We also use our show to promote mental health awareness and suicide awareness every show, so we get the added bonus of trying to help people out while you get to listen to paranormal shows.
Amen, and that's what's important to us.
So please subscribe to Hillbilly Horror Stories wherever you listen to your other podcasts.
And we are back on the paranormal road with Michael Cook. Hey, Michael, we talked earlier before the break about how this dramatically impacted and changed your life. But I'm also curious as to how your family and friends view this aspect of your new life.
Yeah, in my life and those around me's lives have been a lot different than what they could have been. I mean, from the moment I realized right then and there that night sitting on the couch that I'd saw one of these things to the day, I have been very active in the Bigfoot community. I was in the BFRO for a while, 7 years to be exact. Went on several expeditions with them, and I left back in 2009. I didn't really, leave. I mean, I still hang out with some BFRO members and stuff, but I officially went off on my own in a solo endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
In 2011, I created the Kentucky Sasquatch team, which was a 5-member team, and we were situated all around Kentucky. That way we could hear things from western, eastern, northern, southern Kentucky, and central Kentucky. Also, the states bordering Kentucky on that side. But we went, the land between the lakes, and that's a weird place. That's got everything from dogmen to UFOs to the Hodgkinsville green men, gray men, or whatever they call them. That's down that way too. It's more up towards Elizabethtown, but there's a lot of weird stuff. I investigated, oddly enough, pterodactyl sightings out in western Kentucky a few years ago, and I was always one to roll my eyes at stuff like that also. And I talked to several witnesses that saw what they say was living, breathing pterodactyl dinosaurs, flying dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's high sight. I know there's high sightings of that in Pennsylvania, along Chestnut Ridge area. There have been sightings of a large, massive flying bird.
Chestnut Ridge is, in my opinion, a dangerous place. I think that's probably somewhere where you don't want to be, and something like that happen, because I don't think anybody's going to hear from you after that. I mean, there's UFOs, there's Bigfoot, pterodactyls, dogmen. I think there's even some demonic things that goes on Chestnut Ridge, and everything else. Man, I've been in Point Pleasant I only live about an hour and a half from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and I go out there quite a bit, and that's a weird place too. That's a place where I'm like, somebody needs to come with me. I'm not scared, but I'm
more
also not
comfortable if you have a tag along.
Yeah, I'm not getting probed by myself. It's not fun if you're a solo prober.
Well, I'll tell you, the one that creeps me out and is, and I'm sure you've heard the story, but I guess I'm trying to find out if there's any truth to that story, is the LBL, the family that was supposedly slaughtered by what authorities are trying to keep quiet, of a pack of dogmen. Do you know anything about that as far as being valid or just an urban legend? That's
been a topic of several conversations in my circle. The authorities, like you said, they are trying to cover that up. And it was an awful. The case is actually. You can look it up. I mean, anybody can Google it and look it up. Land Between the Lakes, family massacre or mutilation or something like that, and it'll come up, the article, and then they're saying, I've heard everything from a pack of dogs, coyotes.
So this event really did occur. A family really was murdered there, camping.
Yes, yes, they really were. They don't. Like I said, there's about 100 different tales that circles it, from dogs to maybe a cat attack, and then even rationally they're saying that there could be a serial killer of some sort out there. I've studied some pretty gruesome serial killer kills, and from what I gather, I don't think anybody's got it in them to do that. What happened to that family? Right. But you got to look at where that area is situated at. It's down there near the sand caves. Kentucky is one huge cave system. And Greg Newkirk and his wife Dana with Hellier, they are actively looking into cave systems, and could the Hodgkinsville demon event, could that tie into the Hellier events that goes on? Because of the cave systems. I don't think anybody's braved that enough to go in at Mammoth Cave and try to come up this way or anything, but it's possible that you can. Cave systems, they're created by water. Water does have to have a way to go out. So there's got to be ins and outs everywhere under Kentucky. Even where I research at, an area called P3, there's cave systems there, and it's in the mountains. And but the going back to the LBL deal, that's one of those deals, man, where you really want to get into it, but the deeper you go, the worse it gets, and it's one of those heart-wrenching deals where you just like, what, maybe I need to leave this one alone. Right. Now, have you personally been to LBL? I mean, have you investigated that area? Oh yeah. I've been on expeditions there with the Kentucky Sasquatch team, and a couple with some various other groups, but it's weird. It's I mean, you'll see lights in the forest, and you'll see the light balls, the orbs, or whatever. You'll see those pretty regular, and it's a weird place. It's just like Point Pleasant, West Virginia. A good example: when you get to Point Pleasant, when you're walking in Point Pleasant, you feel weird. And could it be EMF? Could it be anything like that? Absolutely, it could be. it could be a natural electromagnetic force that meets there, and EMF will make you feel crappy.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll make you feel weird.
And paranoid,
Yeah,
it has a lot
it'll
of
make
different
you feel
effects on people, yeah.
But, like, the Mothman of Point Pleasant, and there's several other different things that go on there that not a lot of people talk about because the Mothman is their mascot.
Right.
But not too far from where the crow flies is the Flat Woods Monster.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a one-time occurrence, but still, it's like the Dover Demon. It firmly placed itself into the cryptid world, the unexplained paranormal world. The Mothman, you hear people talk about the Mothman all the time about, oh, we've seen it in Chicago, and we've seen it in wherever.
Lake Michigan, and
Yeah. Is it or isn't it? I don't know. It's like, I look at the Mothman like a lot of people look at Bigfoot. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say, well, if there's only one of them, then, well, why so many people see it?
Yeah.
It's because they're a species, okay?
Yeah,
could
breeding
there
population, folks.
Yeah, there could be a species of Mothman. Yeah, or the Loch Ness Monster. I was always tongue-in-cheek, ha-ha, Loch Ness Monster kind of guy until a few years ago where I done a bunch of reading. I researched it a lot and come to realize that it's not much different from Bigfoot and people laughing at us
right
for it. I mean, I am actually planning a trip to Loch Ness in the next 2 years, but this biological DNA study, DNA study came out this year, and they determined that the Loch Ness Monster could be, and quotation marks around could, be a form of, or a species of sturgeon, or eel, or something like that, because they've come out with DNA from all these different species.
Right.
Loch Ness is a very deep lake. It's very void of a lot of species because of its depths and temperature and all that. Could this be an actual animal? Absolutely. Now, with that being said, you have Champ here in the United States, Ogopogo, and several other lake monsters. Now,
up here, we're one block from Lake Erie, and you got Bessie. There's a supposed lake, monster here in Lake Erie. So yeah.
Well, the deeper the lakes, the more believable it is.
Right.
That gives it gives more reasoning behind it. That there could be something hiding in these lakes. But I fish in Tennessee. That's where my heart rests, is in Tennessee. I live in Kentucky, born and raised here, but I fish in a lake called Cherokee, and it's in northeast Tennessee. But this lake, it's a deep lake. It's not very deep. It's not 500 foot, but it is a couple hundred feet in some places. Now, I saw something, and I wouldn't say it was a lake monster. I would not say that. And I'm not getting ready to say it anyway. I saw something one night that I can't explain. Was it a lake monster? I don't think so. Was it an odd phenomenon? Absolutely. Where my uncle's house sits at on the lake, he has a lakeside house, and we have an apartment out in his building, on the top half of his building, where we stay at when we go down there and fish and stuff. I was standing out on the porch one night smoking, and I was just looking out at the lake, and this large shadow, and I don't mean something that was 5 or 6 foot long. I mean something that was probably a good 50 feet in diameter. It was moving across the lake. And I stood there and watched, and I kept on looking at the sky thinking, okay, it's a cloud or whatever, because the moon was out. What in a cloud in the friggin' sky? And then all of a sudden, as quick as it appeared, it disappeared. Now, could that be a school of fish? Absolutely.
Right.
Could that have been Something else, sure. I mean, anything for 19 years, anything is possible.
After your experience, yeah.
Did I see a lake monster? No. Did I see something I can't explain?
Right.
Absolutely.
But now, I mean, you're one of the rare or few people that can firmly say you saw Bigfoot.
Yeah, and I've seen it enough.
Can I ask you, did you take a lot of ridicule from family or friends for this? Or,
God.
a lot of teasing and joking?
Still do.
Still?
Still.
Wow.
To this day.
Didn't I see something where you and some friends or something had encountered more than one Bigfoot?
Last October 6th, 2018, my ex-girlfriend and I and our friend Kenny, we got surrounded by 6 of these creatures in the area known as P3. And to talk about that for a second, she was a paranormal investigator and me a cryptozoologist. I never really dabbled in the ghost stuff. I always wanted to, cause that's that curiosity of me. But we had just went to the mysterious Monroe House in Indiana, Hartford City, Indiana, and spent 48 hours in that friggin' nightmare. And I came out of that fully believing in the paranormal. I mean, I'd always kind of quasi-believed in it, but I'm firmly believing now that there's definitely life after death. And so we come out of that, then we went in, I triple booked myself that Saturday. So we come back on Friday. On Saturday, we're still wore out, and I triple booked myself. I had 2 library lectures to speak at, and so I spoke at those, and then I had a Bigfoot hike, quote unquote, to do that people were wanting to go Bigfooting, and so this area P3, it hasn't produced anything in 2 or 3 years. Last time I was in there, what got us in there was we saw 2 of them. Me and a friend of mine, we saw 2 of them one day.
Now this is in Indiana?
This is in Kentucky.
Kentucky, okay.
Yeah, we just had come back from Indiana, though, from a paranormal 48-hour thing. Okay. So I was wore out anyway, and I said, okay, I'm going to take these people. I'm not going to take them into one of my active research areas simply because of the liability. I mean, I'm not putting people in danger. I don't know what these creatures are capable of. I have my theories, but, they could go out the window pretty quick. And so I took a group in, and we looked around for a little bit, and then that group, they left us. They said, we're going to a party. They were college kids. Good kids. They were all about it, and they left and went to a college party or whatever. We stayed up way longer than what we were supposed to stay up there. And when we started coming back out, I started hearing movement kind of paralleling us. And we got about halfway down a steep part, and I told Gwen, I said, hey, we're going to have to get down flat land pretty quick. I said, we can't, there's something up here with us, and you can't run downhill. You'll kill yourself. And she said, are we going to run? And I said, no, don't run, but, let's pick up the pace. Let's get down to flat land, see what we can do. So we got down to the flat land, and we were probably 300 or 400 yards away from our vehicles. And I decided to kind of test and push and all that stuff. So I smacked a tree, let out a whoop, and when I did, man, it lit up the whole all around us. We heard movements all around us. At one point, I did tell Gwen, I said, hey, listen, we're going to have to start easing out of here because it's getting closer. These things have got us surrounded. We're going to have to start moving in one unison. Move. Let's make our way on down. And the clear territory, because where we were at, it was pretty thick. We couldn't see. And whenever I reached over and touched her, we got bluff charged. One charged towards us. And
did you see it, or did you just see the foliage moving?
I didn't see it right then. I saw the foliage moving and everything, and then that was the first time, guys, I've ever drawn my sidearm. I'm a firm Second Amendment. I carry a pistol everywhere I go, and it's not for the slaughter or proof of Bigfoot. It's for my own personal protection. I'm a dad. You know, and Bigfoot's the least of my worries. We got coyotes, cougars, bears, and everything else here in Kentucky.
Hey, I'm right there with you, man. Yep.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen. But that's the first time I've ever drawn my sidearm, and I pulled out a 40 caliber Ruger, and I said, you know, and I said it out loud. I said, you know, whatever you are, you stop, leave us alone. We're leaving. And I told Gwen and Kenny, I said, hey, listen, you all go ahead of me. You know, here's my moment of bravery. Here it is. So my moment of bravery, I said, you all go in front of me. I'll, stay together. I'm going to trail behind. If something happens back here, run. Don't look back. Don't try to help. Get to the car. Call 911. Do not say the word Bigfoot. Just get to the car. Lock the doors and try to get the hell out of here.
Right.
And, you know, they got in front of me probably 15, 20 feet, and I was walking, and I looked behind me with the flashlight. When I did, I saw the silhouette. I didn't see any details, but I saw a large silhouette take one step across an 8-foot trail. And I picked up speed, and I got up right behind them, put my hand on their backs, and I said, all right, we got to go. We got to get to moving, and we did, and we got all the way down to the bottom.
Wow.
And then we heard them start doing these whoops and stuff, and it was just all the way up the ridge and everything. They were whooping like a celebratory, like they had run us out, successfully run us out. But here's the strange thing, and you all are paranormal guys, so you know, and most of the people who listen to this are paranormal people. That was the first incident that I've ever had. I've heard about it, but I've ever had happen to me, where our phones, our cameras, and even our lights were completely drained of battery life within several, not hours, but several minutes. Within 30 minutes, our phones and our cameras were completely drained.
Been there.
Yeah, we've been there and done that.
Yeah, and it's unnerving when you know damn well that everything was fully charged. You know, and there's no explanation for it.
Here's a stranger thing. We were on YouTube Live the whole time. And for 53 minutes or so, we recorded all this going on around us. And when we got to the car and stuff and went to save and share the video, YouTube completely malfunctioned and crashed. Which has happened before, and it's always been there after the fact.
Yeah.
But when we brung it back up, it just saved the first 9 minutes of the encounter.
Yeah.
And I even went as far as to get a hold of YouTube. After several emails and talking to a real person, they determined that nothing had happened in that area or for YouTube anyway to crash or malfunction that night.
Yeah.
There was no cause or reasoning behind it crashing. So we lost somewhere around 53 or 43 minutes of it.
Well, that actually brings me to one of our questions. The paranormal community, okay, it's a rough community. There's so many different groups, and we have different ideas out there. And unfortunately, and I think the same thing it could be said with the Bigfoot community. When you get ghost hunters, ghost adventurers, and you get any television in there, what happens is you stop having the normal research, and now it becomes like, oh, I want my team on TV. So there's a lot of infighting. And that infighting, is terrible. But particularly from everything I understand, not being a Bigfoot researcher myself, not that I'm ruling that out someday. I would like to go on an expedition, but there seems to be a lot of infighting in that community of paranormal aspect versus flesh and blood animal. What are your thoughts, or what do you stand on that?
I believe that we're all living, breathing creatures on this earth have certain special abilities. And some of us know how to tap into it, some of us don't. With the Bigfoot beings, forest friends, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, I think that they are born of flesh and blood, just like we are. But there are certain ones that are endowed with special abilities, like we are. There's psychics in humanity. There's clairvoyance, super sensitive people, mediums, and all that stuff that are able to tap into that special ability. Whereas with the Bigfoot, they might have better special abilities, such as, and forgive me for what I'm getting ready to say, but because for 19 years, half of this 19 years has been, no, these are an undiscovered primate, nothing more, nothing less, to a few years ago, holy crap, there's probably something else going on here. And their abilities can include mind speak. They can include, I can't believe I'm even want to say this publicly, but what is a term known as cloaking, which is a form of camouflaging. The two creatures that the two that we saw in 2015 in Area P3, where Glenn Mink and I were at, they backed up and disappeared. Now, they didn't turn invisible like the Predator or whatever. Right. They blended in very well, which could be, what people are seeing, but perceiving as them disappearing. Perception is greater than reality.
Right. Well, this could, we got the chameleon. So, and from my understanding, they found transparent hair samples in Texas. Well, as far as we know, the only transparent hairs on any creature is the polar bear. So, what do we have transparent hairs for in Texas? So
there's no reason for it.
Yeah. So, is this transparent hair the ability to adapt color around it? What you're saying to me is perfectly reasonable. They may have a natural ability that we don't understand or know, simply because, as Randy would say, we don't have one in the garage that he can peep into the windows and study or look at. So,
well, the translucent hair, and that's what the term is translucent. It reflects light. The polar bear, it's, to the best of my knowledge, it's the only creature on Earth that does have that kind of hair.
Right.
They reflect light, which is a form of it's actually how they can survive in extreme colds. So they're absorbing the warmth but reflecting the light, and that the ones I saw have been dark brown, reddish brown, whatever you want to call them. But you go out in Northern California, and you get more of the reddish color variation. Then you get out here, it's dark brown, black. Every now and then you'll get a white Bigfoot sighting. And I believe they're like us. I believe, all animals, I don't care, all mammals, after a certain age, I know I'm eat up with them, but gray hairs, everybody's hair will turn gray one day. That's just how it is. And that could be the same thing with these creatures. But the translucent hair theory and stuff like that, that's a very good theory. And it's very plausible, and it deserves recognition and for more research into it.
Yeah.
And the best example for that is the polar bear. We take those hairs of the polar bear, we we compare them to the hairs found in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
The hair samples found in Northwest Washington,
Mm-hmm.
and all this, and see what we come up with. Because if the theory of a primate is right, then we're all related. Humans are great apes. No matter what people want to believe, we are classified as the great ape, and we are Homo sapiens sapiens.
Mm-hmm.
And these creatures, they're somewhere between the original Homo line and us.
Right.
Now, what they have with it is, it is eluding us to this day. And people think that this study has been going on for 52 years since the Paris Gimlin film. Like you said earlier, the term Bigfoot, it came out in the 1950s, 57, 58, I believe, when Jerry Crew found the footprints, Northern California, and the papers read big footprints,
and
footprints being one word. And they stuck, and the Indians have, Native Americans, they have hundreds of names for these creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And the research is actually something, you're talking a couple hundred years, and that's on the low end. Yeah. Leif Erikson talked about these creatures.
Right.
Columbus even talked about these creatures. Spanish conquistadors talked about these creatures.
I think Teddy Roosevelt talked about them.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to get into. Was Daniel Boone? Daniel Boone went on a hunt for the Yahoo, and I done a library thing back in January, and I got ripped apart on this one because the person who ripped me apart is cynical, and
that wasn't a Bigfoot. That was Randy's dog Helen snoring. So go ahead. Sorry about that, folks, but go ahead.
He heard me say Yahoo and thought I said Yowie, and he said Daniel Boone wasn't hunting a Yowie. He got on YouTube Live and run me through the dirt. And so Daniel Boone claimed that he killed a Yahoo here in Kentucky, a Yahoo being a Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And, then Teddy Roosevelt, who was an avid Daniel Boone historian, he wanted to go kill one of these things. So he spent a lot of money and went on a lot of expeditions to hunt this creature. Now, that's... And he talks about it. Teddy Roosevelt talks about it in his diaries. Daniel Boone talks about it in his diaries. So let's just, on the low end, let's say a couple hundred years. Sure, absolutely, is what we've been doing this. Me, 19 years, that is just a small minute in the hands of time of what I've been doing it.
Right.
But you take Bob Gimlin, Paris Gimlin. Bob, he quit for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
He was tired of it, and I've quit several times.
Yeah,
I get tired of it, and it's pretty. You gotta tell anybody that's listening to this, if you want to be a Bigfoot researcher, have at it, but you better grow some thick skin.
Yeah.
Because and even the Bigfoot community, they
can be vicious.
They're worse than they are substantially worse than the skeptics and the people out there that say that's just brutal non-believers. We were talking about friends and family and stuff like that's how we got into this, but ridicule, making fun of and stuff like that. I just kind of shrug my shoulders. I used to get fighting mad over it.
Yeah.
And I would say, why are you, calling me a liar? Why are you calling me a hoaxer? There's this YouTube guy, and I'm not even gracing his name. I'm not a slanderer, but there's this guy who's got a YouTube show and stuff, and he uses all of us, man. And, he is too chicken to say it to our faces.
Yeah, we've experienced that in the paranormal. One critic that was very vicious, and again, when you do this line of work, even and like you said in your field, you have to have a thick skin.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. I mean, even in my personal business, I do very well. I'm one of the very few that balance my life in three different ways. I live three different lives. I live a personal life, I live a Bigfoot life, and I live a business life. And to everybody's knowledge, nobody knows exactly what I do, but I've done pretty well for myself in my adulthood, and I'm pretty proud of where I'm at right now. But very few people at work know about it, and the ones that know about it are the ones that, have added me on Facebook or something like that and see me post something, about Bigfoot, and they'll question me, and then, my dad fully supports me in everything I do.
That's awesome.
Mom, she don't really know how to talk to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll say they saw me on something, or went to something and saw me, or read about doing something about me, and Mom will be like, "Yeah, I don't really know about him." I talk to my parents 3 or 4 times a day. They live 3 hours away from me, but I still talk to them 3 or 4 times a day. And my kid, my son is pretty awesome. He's 10 years old. He'll be 11 next month, 28th of November on Thanksgiving. And he 2 years ago, toward the beginning of the school year, they were talking about what their parents do for a living and everything. And my kid, he is mine 100%. And he goes, "Well, my dad hunts Bigfoot." And everybody kind of laughed and everything. Well, a couple of days later, I called and talked to his teacher and everything, and I was, she goes, "Your son has the biggest imagination." I said, "Oh yeah?" And she said, "Yeah." We were talking about what our parents do for a living, and everybody was, "Well, my dad's a mechanic, and my dad's this, my dad's that." And he says his dad is a Bigfoot hunter, and she was just like laughing, and she goes, "Ah," and I was like, "Yes, that's pretty
accurate.
Funny." I don't know where he would have got that, other than that's pretty true. And she goes, "Wait a minute, what?" And I said, "Yeah." And it's one of those things where, once she realized that no, it's not a joke. She realized that I found myself a couple weeks later in their class talking to the kids about these creatures and more about wildlife and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my son's best friend is I think that kid knows more about Bigfoot than I do. I think he could probably give Jeff Meldrum a run for his money. And I have a Bigfoot cast collection from around the world, and the last time Adam was at the house, he was looking at it. He goes, "Oh, that's an Oran Pendek cast from Indonesia, and this is a Yowie cast from Australia, and that's the Paris and Gimlin cast." And I was like, "Dude." And they're not labeled. That's the thing. And I'm like, "How do you know that?" He goes, "Oh, I've read this book and that book." And I'm like, "God, I'm pretty happy with what we're leaving after it's all said and done. I am. I think if it's not discovered in my lifetime, it will be discovered in my kids' lifetime, because them little turds are friggin' relentless anyway. And they don't know when to quit. And right now, the Bigfoot community is so torn.
Yeah.
It's
and that's what I find so frustrating, like even in the paranormal community. Folks, we're in this together, we're out there on the fringe as it is anyway. People put their, necks out there, and we face enough ridicule from critics alone, let alone the infighting from people who are doing the same thing. You would think everybody would come together and work together for a common goal. But unfortunately...
You look, and, people aren't going to like what I'm going to say, but my best advice to the future of both genres, paranormal and Bigfoot, is to learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, and forget about sightings, forget about encounters. Get out, find data, research for data, and when you get that data, collect it, and then work on it on a scientific based system. Don't let personal drama and forgive me, but personal bullshit get in the way of this. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about the paranormal world, but in the Bigfoot world, we have what they call the Horsemen, and that was Peter Byrne and Grover Krantz and Roger Patterson and John Green. Them guys were the founding, fathers of modern day research for the Bigfoot stuff. They hated each other.
Wow. I had no clue.
I mean, yeah, they couldn't stand each other. Grover Krantz would laugh at everybody that didn't go along with him. And Grover, God bless him, I always liked Grover. His cousin, Laura Krantz, has a podcast called I can't think of it now, but it's a good one. But Grover, you can go see Grover. He's dead. He's up there at the Smithsonian. He donated his body to science, but he was a famous anthropologist, and he risked his whole career to let people know that he truly thought that these creatures exist.
Yeah.
Jeff Meldrum is a world-known Bigfooter, but he's also he is an anatomy professor at Idaho State. He's an anthropologist. He works on the bipedal gait of primates. He has risked it all.
Yeah. I admire him greatly.
Yeah, I know Jeff. He's a good guy. And several other people, doctors, lawyers, architects, all the way down to your high school teachers. Charlie Raymond with the KBRO in Kentucky, he's a teacher. Yeah. And he risks. We all risk our careers, our personal well-being to pursue this endeavor. And I know I said earlier, like, if I don't regret nothing, but if I could change a few things, yeah, absolutely, I would, and everybody would. You're lying if you say you wouldn't change something about your life. I mean, my life, for a long time, it was get up, go to work, come home, eat, go to bed. Get up, go to work, home, eat, go to bed. And that was 6 days, 7 days a week. And somewhere I started putting Bigfoot in there, and Bigfoot started taking away more time away from my work, away from my family life. I'm not married, but I have a kid. And a couple years ago, I had to step out of the community for a little while. I actually stepped out saying I would never come back. And it's like the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you're never going to leave this community. Until the day I die, I will be known as a Bigfoot researcher. I've accepted that now. But priorities, and that's another thing for the future of research with anything. Paranormal, I don't give a damn what you're researching. Prioritize. Put your family first. Put your friends first. Put your jobs first. Let this stuff be all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Because I'm not rich off.
It'll consume you.
Yeah, and I'm not rich off Bigfoot, and I say I've not been on TV, but there's something getting ready to come out. I was thinking it was coming out tonight, which got me excited for this show, but I haven't heard anything back. After the incident last October, where we got surrounded, we went in December to Philadelphia and filmed an episode for the Travel Channel's These Woods Are Haunted. And over that incident and everything, and my life stemming from the one that happened 19 years ago, I thought it was coming out tonight or this week sometime, but I haven't heard anything back. But we did film it. I don't know if it's even going to air, but These woods are haunted, and I think the episode's going to be called "Surrounded by Bigfoot" or something like that.
Do me a favor when you get word on that, if it comes out, hit us up. Send us a message, and we'll link that on the Paranormal Road Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely. It was weird. It was in a sound studio in Philadelphia, and we were there for about 10 hours to film an hour of a show.
Trust me, we've been there, done that, and it's grueling. It's not glamorous like everybody thinks it is.
No, and that's just like Cliff and Cliff Berkman and James Fay from Finding Bigfoot. And all them guys, it was cool being on TV, but you sit down and talk to them. I've known both them guys for 15 years, way before Finding Bigfoot ever come out. But they'll tell you some of it was just, ready to scream and say, "I quit. I don't want to do this anymore."
We did that the first day. We were ready to quit after the first day.
Yeah,
and the being gone all the time and stuff, and that's like me. I try to dedicate a couple of weeks a year to the Bigfoot stuff, to go on some kind of half-ass expedition or whatever. But for the most part, I'm a weekend warrior. I mean, I've got a normal job. I'm a dad, and and me and my kid, we I don't take him out, in the middle of nowhere, but I'll take him out here and there, and I'm not putting him in any kind of danger. But that's another thing with the people in the paranormal and Bigfoot worlds now. Involve your families, involve your kids, and it's fun. If nothing else, it's fun and educational.
Yeah,
and open their minds. Do not raise a little entitled, closed-minded turd.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing. When started EVP Mediums, I mean, I got my children involved, and I'll tell you what, they're awesome, and they did a great job. Now they're adults, and my youngest son at the time was, "Oh yeah, it's so cool. My dad's a paranormal investigator." Now I was like, my dad's a paranormal investigator.
Right.
But they're still join us from time to time on cases. But you're right. Try to get your if you have children, get them involved, and like with you and your son in the Bigfoot community or the Bigfoot research, I think that's cool to be out in nature, to take him and involve him, and I just think it's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I teach him to respect nature, respect everything that you see. I don't hunt much anymore. I don't have time to hunt much anymore, so I don't really hunt, but I go out, I enjoy stuff, I see stuff that, I know people in my personal life and my business life that's never been off a friggin' sidewalk. And I've been in the mountains of Northern California, standing toe-to-toe with Northern California brown bears, and I've been on top of mountains in Colorado and in Montana, down in the swamps of Florida. I mean, come on, man.
That's awesome.
There's people that's never seen anything other than their sidewalk or the woods behind their house that's a block of a park.
Or seen anything but the screen on their iPhone. So
exactly, and that's the thing that I don't. I've been out with people and stuff, and that's all they want to do is Facebook Live and tweet and this and that while they're in the woods. Well, shit, is Bigfoot on Twitter? Because I've been looking at the wrong place lately. I mean, if that's the case, and everybody wants to get so technical anymore too, and there's so much technology coming out now. Take it down a notch. Go back to simpler living and everything. Yeah, I've got an iPhone. We talked about that before the show, but I've got an iPhone. I love my iPhone. Could I live without my iPhone? Probably not, because I do all my work, do all my networking, do everything on my phone.
But balance it.
But every now and then you got to turn that thing upside down, turn it screen down, throw it on the table, go out back, build a fire, sit out there, do something.
Yeah.
that makes your life meaningful.
Yep.
And I'm in my mid-30s now. I'm not old, but I'm not young. I'm middle-aged now, and I had 2 friends die right back to back within 3 days apart back in August, and it was awful. And we were all the same, around 2 or 3 years difference, and heart attacks. And I'm like, reality hits you, and you're like,
Right.
holy hell,
Right.
it can happen. I mean, I could drop dead right now, and it would be a natural event. And I'm not scared of death, and I was just talking about this the other day. I'm not scared to die. I believe in God. I believe that there is something other than, this what we live in. But what is it? I don't know.
Right.
But I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid to be forgotten. That's my biggest fear, is to be forgotten. And that's I read about and I've heard John Bendernagel. He passed away last year. Famous Bigfoot researcher.
Yes. He was phenomenal.
He worked his fingers to the bone the last days of his life trying to get all of his research and all of his stuff put together for for people to look at and everything, and to appreciate. And I think that's honorable. But on my deathbed, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be thinking about Bigfoot.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not going to be thinking about anything like that. At the end of the day,
Family first. Yeah.
I'm a family man. I'm a daddy. I do my job. At the end of the day, I'm your average red-blooded American. I work. I come home. I do these things every now and then, and it's fun. But the Bigfoot community and the paranormal community, you come out, I don't give a damn what you come out with. You come out with verifiable proof. Now, 1,000 people's going to say, oh my God, that's amazing. Now, there's going to be about 10,000 people say you're full of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And then, this book I'm writing right now, it's called The Bigfoot, and it'll be out. I was hoping to have it out this fall, but I'm actually taking my time on it. But one of my questions for my interviews and stuff that I've interviewed people with is, if Bigfoot was discovered tomorrow, in the morning you wake up and Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, your local newspapers, everything says Sasquatch discovered. What is society's reaction going to be? What is the scientific community's reaction going to be? And what is the researchers' reaction going to be when they find out that they've known what this thing is for so long and they're wrong?
Yeah.
So, and the answers to those questions have been pretty phenomenal. I've asked those questions to Cliff Bergman and even Ron Moorhead, the Sierra Sounds Quantum Bigfoot. He is one of my personal heroes. I ask him the same question. What are those 3 reactions going to be? And the answers to those you can read about in the book, but they will blow your mind because they are completely different from what you would think they would be.
You have to make sure you let us know about that book.
We have to get you back on the show.
That way we can bring you back on, talk about it when it comes out.
And we are, speaking of which, we are running out of time, unfortunately. We're pushed for time.
Real quick, let me plug something real quick.
Absolutely.
Cultured Bigfoot, documentary I've been in through Bilko Productions. It's out worldwide now. He's also got Paranormal Bigfoot, Native Bigfoot I was not a part of, but nevertheless, it's something you need to look into. I will be speaking February 29th, 1st, and 2nd at the Winter Parafest in Rochester, New York. That will be the February 29th, March 1st, and March 2nd. And also be looking on the Travel Channel. These Woods Are Haunted. Apparently, it's coming out. I don't know, but apparently it is. And it's an episode where we got surrounded by Bigfoot.
Great.
And the Bigfoot by me, Michael W. Cook, will be out this spring sometime.
I said, send us just shoot us a message, and we'll put all of that up on Paranormal
any
website.
Any of those things that are coming up, just send us the info. If there's links, send us the links, and we'll put it up on Paranormal Road and EVP Mediums.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you all the links.
Great.
Michael, it's been absolutely awesome and fascinating to talk to you, and we definitely will get you back on the show again. And
thank you for having me, guys.
Oh, thank you for taking your time out and talking with us.
Yeah, it was awesome, and some neat stories.